Hello everybody, my name is Nicholas Sadowski. I am your host here at Daybreak. We have a great show today. I thank you all so much for joining us, and we're going to have a great time. I am a little bit more nervous today than any of my previous episodes. We have something new we're going to try out today. I will not tell you until the time, so please stick around for the whole show because it's going to be a great time. We are only going to be having two people on this program today, me and my friend Riley Kraaijvanger, who will be my first guest. So, in recent news, my friend Abigail Keefe has put out her new song 1994 that is available on all streaming platforms, so I recommend you all go listen to her new song 1994. She was on the program last time talking about her new song and what she was doing with it, or actually 2 episodes ago in the season finale of season 3. So go check out her new song. It's amazing. It's really good. It's on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music. It's on all your platforms. However you listen to your music, it's on that platform. So go look up 1994 Abigail Keefe. There are other songs on 1994, as she mentioned, so I specify Abigail Keefe in there. It's a great song. You should definitely download it to listen to it, along with the Crown Jewels song, which is also absolutely amazing. Also, Jumanji, The Next Level, which is the new Jumanji movie, is now on Amazon, on a Amazon-sponsored streaming service. It's a great movie. I watched it last week. It was really funny, really great, so definitely go and watch that. But into today's episode, we have, like I said, we have one guest for the first part, and then you have me for the last part. So please welcome the wonderful, the fantastic, one of my personal favorites, the extremely talented and 33-time guest here, Riley Kraaijvanger. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Would you mind turning up your audio just a little bit? Oh, no, sorry. Never mind. I'm good. Sorry, my audio was down. All right. So thank you so much for joining the show. You've been here 2 times in the past in episode 1 and in, I think it was episode 2 of season 2, talking about different shows.
Yeah.
And now you're back.
Yeah.
And we're here to take, because you mentioned, I think last time, talking about fencing, and I don't know anyone besides you who does fencing. So this is a great thing for us to talk about in terms of commenting. So for our guests who don't know what fencing is, would you mind explaining what that is to maybe our younger viewers who don't know what it is?
Yeah, so it's a sport that it's pretty uncommon, I'd have to say. I don't really know that many people who do it. I know that there are a few people at DS, which is pretty cool. So basically the object of the sport is to get so there's a few different types of fencing. There's épée fencing, saber fencing, and foil fencing,
Yeah.
and I do saber. So, in saber fencing, during competitions, there are like preliminary rounds, and for those rounds, you want to be the first person to get to 5 touches, meaning you touch your opponent 5 times.
Okay.
And then during like the direct elimination rounds, um, you want to be the first person to get to 15 touches. So you want to get 15 touches on your opponent before they do, and then that's how you'd win. So based on how many preliminary rounds you win, you're seeded differently for the direct elimination rounds. And then after that, it's if you lose one of the direct eliminations, then you are out of the competition. And the more you win, the higher you place, and then you want to win the most and have the most touches scored and the least touches scored against you, and that kind of calculates into your score to decide who wins the competition.
Interesting. Can you have like multiple people going up multiple people and you add up the amount of touches you get for the whole thing? Or like if you had 15 people against 15 people and each person on one team tapped the other person one time, you add those up and that counts as 15? Or is it only one-on-one?
There are two there during competitions there's team fencing and there's individual fencing. So team fencing you count up the whole team as a point. Each touch factors in a point. But then for individual you're kind of working on your own team, I guess. So all the touches you get are your points.
Hmm. That is so. There's also foil, and there was another one. What are the difference between saber fencing and then foil and the other one?
So saber fencing is the gear is different
Okay.
and the rules are slightly different and the blade is different. So for foil fencing, I've never done foil fencing, so I don't know too much about it. But the I know that you can only touch in the chest and mask region, I believe. And then for épée fencing, you can touch all over the body, but you can only touch with the front part of your weapon. And then in saber fencing, you can touch the arms through the mask, but you can't touch from your waist down. And you can use your whole weapon.
All right. And the weapon is a sword or a
Yeah.
saber. And is it like a, when I was picturing fencing, I've seen videos of people fencing, is it like a rod or is it actually sort of like a dull sword type of thing?
I have mine right here.
Oh, yes.
So here it is. It's so this is the handle. This one, as you can see, has a lot of indents
Oh,
from
wow.
rapid parries, but then right here is like the handle, so you can kind of grab it, and then it's pretty long. And then up here is the tip, so it's kind of blunted, so you can't really get hurt
Okay,
from it. But there's still a lot of protective gear just in case
right.
any accidents happen.
Yeah. Have any accidents happened before or is it usually just you're fine?
Um, 9 times out of 10, you're fine. But sometimes what can happen is the sword can go underneath your mask,
Oh.
and that can cause issues.
Ow.
Yeah, and sometimes like if someone lunges at you with the tip of their blade and it kind of hits you like where you're not really like protected, if it like somehow gets past the gear, then that
Right.
can hurt. But mostly, like, the only serious injuries I've seen have been people, like, falling and twisting ankles and, like, spraining things and
So it
stuff.
seems as though you get hurt more from walking than you do from the swords. That's very reassuring. Right?
Yeah.
If it was the other way, I'd be really terrified.
Yeah.
Um, one of my questions was how dangerous was it, but I guess you get like a 90% chance you're fine, and then there's
Yeah.
one chance this sword misses one of the armor pieces.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so you said with like saber, you could hit anywhere above the waist, and with other things, it's arms or something. Do you still wear armor on your legs, even if you're doing saber, where you're not aiming down there? Like, do you wear armor all over for all of them?
Yeah, so let's see, hold on. I think I have them in my bag. But so you have their fencing pants. So they're these wonderful pants that are they're made of like a really thick fabric.
Hmm,
So if the saber or the epee or the foil or whatever weapon you're using hits you in the leg, you're not going to get hurt. It's not comfortable, but it doesn't hurt.
okay.
So you're and then you also have on your jacket, you have on like plenty of protective gear. There's like some hard plastic pieces that you put on too, so then nothing can seriously injure you.
Yeah. What got you interested in fencing in the first place? Because that's an odd thing to be interested in this young. Usually, I hear people who are older doing this. So, what got you interested in fencing, and like what caught your eye rather than like swimming or doing martial arts, or I guess like a more traditional martial arts?
Yeah. When I was little, I got this is kind of like a silly reason to get interested in it, but I got these like sword things. They were like these Nerf swords, and my
Oh, yeah,
sisters and I would run around the house chasing each other with them. And it was like so much fun, and I kind of was wondering if there was any sports that had actual like swords like that. And so I didn't like I found out about fencing, but my mom was like, "Yeah, there's probably nothing around us." So I didn't start really until later, like around I think the beginning of seventh grade. And yeah, and then we found out that there was a fencing place in Natick,
Oh.
and it was just like, I need to do this. So it was, yeah, it was really fun to find it.
So any parents watching, if you want your child to do fencing, buy them Nerf swords. That is the
Exactly.
moral of the story. Um, with fencing, I would imagine that you need to stay pretty fit to be able to do all kinds of moves and things. So, do you like work out separately, or is like the fencing your workout and I just sort of, need to do anything on the side?
Um, well, it's like kind of a mix of everything because I also do swimming, so there's a
Okay.
lot of conditioning that goes into that. And then like sometimes I'll go on runs and stuff, even though I hate running, but I don't know, I guess it's helpful. So I do that. And then at fencing practices, we do a lot of like conditioning before we actually fence.
Okay.
So we do like ladders and running and stuff. And it definitely, yeah, it's like a hard workout, but it's definitely worth it. So it's very,
Yeah, I I'm not afraid of like roller coasters or things, but I am terrified if someone has a sword and they're trying to like hit at me. I would definitely be like, "Don't hit me." Uh,
yeah, yeah.
did you have to get used to that? Like someone swinging I mean, it's a saber, but it's a sword at you. You have to get used to the fact like it's not really gonna hurt me. It's gonna be fine. But like at the beginning where you're like, okay, it's a sword. I have to not get hit or something.
Yeah, I at the beginning it definitely was something new to get used to. Um, I I don't know, I'm not like a very violent person, so it's kind of a funny sport for me to like
Yeah,
really love, but but yeah, I think I kind of just like after a little while of like getting hit by these swords, I kind of it just became like not something I was scared of, but it's yeah, it's definitely like when you first start out when your opponent attacks, you're like, "Whoa, like I wasn't expecting that." But it just like everything, it kind of feels normal after a little while.
yeah. I would imagine for people that have like anger issues or something, it'd be a great way to like release all of the anger or something. It might be good for me actually.
Yeah.
Um, um, but it doesn't sound like you could get hurt, but I would imagine it'd be terrifying on like your first day. You're just
Yeah.
like, okay, I have to get used to this. It's like the just the motion of something swinging at you. How hard can someone hit you?
Well, it kind of depends. In the Olympics, I read that the right behind the like a bullet from a gun is the how fast the fencing saber moves. So it's definitely it can be very hard if someone's angry at you or if they're losing and they don't want to be or you said something on the bench before that they didn't approve of.
Don't trash talk.
Yeah, so just be nice to everyone and the hits will be relatively gentle. So,
Yeah, that's one sport I would not want to be. Like a lot of people feel like they need to trash talk, like in baseball or football or something. Don't trash talk if you're going to do fencing because
no,
they have a sword.
exactly.
Yeah. Trash talking generally isn't good, anyways. But definitely don't trash talk if someone has a saber that will try and attack you with it at
Yeah.
the speed of a bullet.
Yes.
I don't like that is ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
just behind a bullet is how fast those things go.
Exactly.
And
It's pretty crazy.
I'm never trying fencing.
You should. It's worth it. It's scary at first, but the more you do it and the more you get used to it, the more fun you'll have and it's a really, really great time.
I might do it once. It sounds interesting, but I am terrified of the fact that a sword will be singing. Wow, a sword will be swinging at me.
Yeah, yeah.
Um. Anyways, um. So the rules are for saber, just hit above the waist. Are there any other rules like you can't hit like this? You can't like lunge or something? Is there different rules other than just hit above the waist?
Yeah, there's a lot of rules and they get pretty complicated. So it's kind of like So there's one of like the main major rules in saber fencing is priority, and priority is not in epee. You don't ever have to worry about it. In
Right.
our class, we like to joke about epee because you can hit anywhere, and it's not very fast. It's more just like waiting for the other person and then going,
Okay.
and there's no priority. But not to trash talk epee fencers. You're all wonderful. But
They're gonna swing a sword at you.
yeah, its saber is a little bit more complicated. So, okay, so priority, there's like three main priorities. And so the first one is parry riposte. So if your opponent attacks and you're able to parry their weapon and then you riposte with your own attack, that would be your priority, even
Okay.
if their blade touches you. So if you make blade contact, even if that's like a beat where you hit the other person's blade and then attack, that would be your priority because you made the blade contact, which took away the priority from your attacker, and then you went in for the attack. Another attack is attack in preparation, which is where your opponent lunges,
Mm-hmm.
but then you wait and then you attack. So your attack would be faster, technically. So even if you attack at technically the same time, if you kind of go in faster and extend and touch your blade before they do, that would be touch your blade to the opponent before they
Right.
touch you. That would be your priority. And then there's distance, which is where if you go in, so you do a fake attack, and then your opponent might lunge or go for the attack, but then they miss because you create a space between you and your opponent, and then you can attack after they miss, then that would be your priority. And so there's just a bunch of rules that kind of go like that are all really conditional.
Okay.
So like, and also a lot of it is up to the referee. So if they see what you did and you're like, but I made blade contact, but I made distance, but that was an attack in preparation, and the referee goes, well, I didn't see that, then the word of the referee is always what you go by. So
Okay.
then it would be the other person's point.
I'm gonna need like a keep a pocket rule book on me at all times. So before I attack, okay, just looking through the rules here. Okay, I can do this.
Exactly.
Um,
It's really it gets like the longer you do it, the more rules and different like methods you learn. So it's definitely like a really complicated sport, but really worthwhile.
I have this dodgeball strategy, and I'm amazing at dodgeball, and I'm very humble about it. But I tend when someone I get really close to someone and they try to throw, and I drop to the ground so the ball goes over me instead of hitting me, and I just have a ball and I just hit them on the floor. Can you like you always I always see someone doing fencing, I always see them standing up and they're sort of like this and then swinging at some point. Can you get down on the ground to like sort of trick out the thing? Do you always have to be standing up? Is there like a rule against like diving to the ground to do something?
Well, there's this thing that a lot of my friends in our fencing class like to do, which is called a squat parry five. So that's where you squat down to the ground and you do a parry five, which is when you raise your blade over your head. So you block their attack and then you can attack from a squat on the ground.
Okay.
And that is really cool. But I don't think that you're allowed to lay down. I mean, no one's really done it before, but I don't think that you can.
I'll be the first.
But I know if you fall, like they pause and then,
Oh, okay.
but like, so I don't think you're allowed to attack from the ground.
I can't use my amazing dodgeball strategies.
No, sadly.
All right, I'm gonna do some audience questions here. Uh, an audience asks, how do the referee, judge when someone has been touched?
Okay. I'm sorry, I forgot to explain this part. While you're fencing, you're connected to a bunch of wires, kind of. Well, just one wire. So the wire, I have this. Oh, wait, and I have a wire. So,
The
um,
wire.
give me 1 second. While you're fencing, there's this wire that attaches, and there's also there's also this wire that attaches. And so these are all underneath your protective gear. And this right here in your saber, where that little metal thing is, that's where the blue wire plugs in. So, and that's attached to a machine. So the machine gets an electric current when your saber touches the metal on the other person's lame. So then the point registers and a light flashes. And then the white wire is attached to your mask, which is right here. And so this attaches just to the top or the side, and that registers if the opponent has touched your mask. So the lights will flash like red or green based on who got the touch. And if both lights flash, meaning both people were able to get a touch, then that's when the referee thinks about all the rules and goes, whose priority was it? So then the touch will go to the person whose priority it was.
I did not imagine that fencing would have electronics in it. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Actually kind of smart, actually, if you think about it, having the electric pulse and everything.
Exactly. It's definitely a very interesting sport. There's a lot of different layers to it.
I just thought it would be just start swinging swords at each other, which is basically what I do sometimes in my free time.
Yeah.
But time goes by when you're having fun, and unfortunately, it is 10:21, and I have to stop the interview. But this has been so fun. We should definitely talk more about this sometime in the future, because this is so interesting to learn about. I didn't know anything about fencing before, and it sounds like a really incredible sport. So I thank you so much for coming on to talk about it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. All right, so that was Riley Kraaijvanger. Unfortunately, I didn't get to all of your audience questions because it was such a just amazing interview. I'm gonna have to try out fencing, maybe. I'm a little nervous about that, but sometime in the future, I'm gonna pick up a sword and go to, I don't know. I'll try it out. But as you know, as I said at the beginning of the episode, we're having a little bit of a different sort of show today. And if you saw my post on Facebook or on Instagram, it's a flipped interview. I saw Stephen Colbert do this, and Jimmy Kimmel. I think Conan did this at one point, where the guest interviews the host. Now, this was Riley's idea. About either a month or 2 months ago, she did it in one of the responses to a story I posted saying that I should be interviewed by the audience, and I was thinking of doing something like that. So I am no longer going to be your host for the rest of this episode. I will be your host next week and in the future, but today I'm going to step down from my host platform, and we're going to have a co-host for the first time in Daybreak history. So everyone, please welcome your co-host for today. We just had her on, Riley Kraaijvanger.
Hi everybody, I'm Riley Kraaijvanger, and I'm going to be your host at Daybreak today, and we have such a great show planned. So I'd like to welcome my guest, the talented musician, a resident of Norwell, Massachusetts, and the wonderful host of Daybreak, Nicholas Sadowski. Hi, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to this. This is such a fun and different take on the show, so I'm really excited to do it.
Well, thank you for agreeing to be the host.
Yeah, this is just going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So, how are you?
I am amazing. I actually have a bunch of stuff in front of me. This is all my questions for you and everything, so I'm putting them to the side. It's weird having nothing in front of me. It's very awkward.
Yeah, my setup, I have all my fencing gear on the side and then a clock over there, and it's just, but I'm excited to do this interview.
Well, thank you for agreeing to do it.
Thanks. So, first question, what made you want to host a talk show?
Okay, so I've always loved watching talk shows. I watched Conan. I don't really love some late night hosts, but I love Conan. I love James Corden. I like Jimmy Fallon, and I like public speaking in general. I've always wanted to do something that involved public speaking in my career in the future, and coronavirus sort of shut down everything, and I wasn't able to talk to anyone because I don't really like texting because I'm super slow with it. So people always type faster than I can type. So they always say something, and then what I was trying to respond to gets really awkwardly placed. It's always a big deal. So I started video chatting people, mainly my friend Grace Maroney. And I'm like, you know what would be a good idea? If I did a talk show so I could talk to people, and no one really listens to people our age to talk about current events or what they do. So this would be a good opportunity to present what they do to everyone else, to adults or watching or things like that. So it'd be the other way around. And it's not just going to be famous people. It's going to be people that they actually know and care about instead of having Harrison Ford on, who no one really personally knows. I could have you on, and everyone from DS practically knows who you are. So they would be able to relate to everything you're saying. Or if I came on the show like I am now, people from Norwell will know who I am, so they could relate to what I'm saying to you instead of no one can relate to Harrison Ford because Harrison Ford is Harrison Ford. So
Yeah.
it's more like a personal thing.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. And it's like it's awesome how you're getting out, all of like Abigail's music and
Yeah.
all of like these like people who kind of like if they didn't have your platform, they couldn't really get out everything that they're trying to.
Yeah, I once thought that Daybreak was going to be something where if you had a product that you wanted to present, you could come on the show and talk about it. But I realized that not everyone has a product that they want to do, but they want to talk about something that they do that isn't really something they made. Like you talk about fencing, but it can be a place where everyone can really get together to talk about something that they care about. It doesn't have to be something that you made, but it can be something that you care about. And sometimes it's something that they made, and it's basically a way to introduce it to the world because we have a YouTube channel, which is the largest streaming platform in existence right now.
Yeah.
So if it's on YouTube, like everyone can see it. So it's a good way to present what you're doing to the world. So Abby, who just released her song in 1994, I looked at her Spotify thing. I think there was like traffic of like 20 people a week or something like that, which is really good. But now it's on YouTube, so everyone can see it. Everyone knows it's out there, and now they can go look it up, and it's easier for them to just happen to stumble across it by accident, which is interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And like I heard you mention YouTube, and what has that been like kind of watching your platform grow from just being on Instagram to now being on YouTube and yeah.
It's interesting because the show isn't about the views, and the issue with YouTube is that that's the first thing you want to look to. And I'm like, okay, I have to stop looking at the views because the show is not about the views. But it's difficult when that's the first thing you see when you look at your channel things. So I try not to look at the views. I just see how they're doing and see if I can improve the videos to make people want to watch them more. Maybe change the title. For example, when I put in first adult on a show, that got a huge jump in views.
Yeah.
When I add the word finale, that gets a huge jump in views. That actually, the last episode we did with Abby in it got over 100 views on like the third day, which was amazing. And it's been interesting to edit and do things I have never done before. It was a big struggle trying to edit the first video because I didn't know what I was doing. I kept asking like people I knew, how do I do this? What do I do here? And it was really annoying, but after you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy. But it's been an interesting ride.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely sounds really cool. So what has it been like being a talk show host and like what is your favorite part about that?
My favorite part is getting to talk to people that I didn't really get to know on a personal level before this. Like, for example, with you, I never actually met you while I was at DS. I always wanted to meet you because your name was everywhere in the school. You did all these projects and everything, and I wanted to actually meet you. But I never got the opportunity to. But now I feel like we've actually established a really good friendship, and now we've gotten together really well. And with Abby and with all these other people I've come on with, I knew them, but I didn't know them as much as I do talking to them about things that they actually like Abby's song or your fencing or things like that. These are things I didn't know about people before. It's good to learn things.
Yeah.
Um, and I just like seeing my face up here, so that's another reason.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, it's been so like interesting kind of watching like this show grow from like being smaller to like moving to YouTube and like
Yeah,
seeing all the different people that you're interviewing and it's like it's been really cool.
yeah. I've been trying to. every season put in something new. So the suit thing was a result of having the author on. So that was mid-season 3. And season 2, it was moving down here with you can't see it because my face blocks it, but with the Daybreak logo. I'm going to screw up my settings now. Uh-oh, it collapsed. And every season I try to introduce something new, and it's interesting. If you watch back all the episodes, you see the evolution, like a time capsule. It's really interesting. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And this is kind of an interesting question. What made you choose the name Daybreak for your show?
I don't know. Um, I was actually on a call with Grace Maroney while I was writing up the sort of format. At that time, I was going to do it at 9 in the morning, which was ridiculous. Now that I think about it, it's 10 now, and I'm still exhausted. It's going to do it at 9. It's going to be a 30-minute show. Now it's a 45-minute show. And I was trying to think of something because there was late nights. There was the late show, the late, late show. Like, okay, well, I don't want to be late. I want to be early. I'm like, Daybreak. Daybreak. Huh, sounds kind of cool. Okay,
Yeah.
goes. And that's basically how it started.
That's awesome. It's definitely it's a great name for a show.
Yeah, the issue I have with it is actually there was a Netflix show called Daybreak. So when you look up Daybreak, that's what's going to come up. And apparently it was not a great show. So when you look it up, just like, what's so bad about Daybreak? Why Daybreak is terrible? I'm like, my show isn't terrible.
Yeah, well, now I guess you kind of have like a new chance to put a new spin on
Yes.
Daybreak is.
Yeah, I can rewrite the YouTube suggested list here.
Exactly. So, other than hosting Daybreak, what are some of your passions?
I love music. I did music I started in 6th grade. Mr. Dupre got me really interested. Mr. Dupre was sort of kicked off music for me. He was such a fun teacher to learn from. Like, oh, it was the most fun class that I've ever done. And my dad's a musician. He's in a band, actually. Unfortunately, they can't play right now because of coronavirus, but my family's pretty musical already. I used to do piano. I learned guitar for a little bit, but starting in Norwell, I've switched over to drums, and I've really taken lessons, and I'm actually doing it properly. I learned piano by myself. I didn't take lessons from piano. And guitar, I took lessons, but I didn't really like it, so then I just did drums. Other passions would be, I like writing, this is so weird, I like writing speeches for things randomly. I don't like writing off of a prompt. It doesn't work well for me. I can't say, okay, write about this, and it's just not going to go well. I like writing, there it is, that's what it is. Um, this is one of my passions.
Yeah.
And just trying to talk with people. I'm very social. I like meeting with people and talking with people. That's pretty much it.
That's awesome. And I remember how you were part of a band at DS. What was that experience like, and how's it your experience kind of like changed as you moved and everything?
Well, DS was interesting because I had 3 bands. I had one with, at the time, Juliana Austin and Alex Fry. Then I had one with me, Alex Fry, and me, Logan June, Owen Komisky, and Alex Fry. Those did not work out very well. The atmosphere wasn't great. No one really cared as much as I did. So I just, you know what, I'll do it by myself. And I went basically solo. I wrote my own music. Connor helped me out on the saxophone for the assemblies. And occasionally Logan would do the drums for that. But I tended to try and stick to my own thing. I wrote One Voice Can Make a D France. They still play that, apparently. They played that this year for MLK Day. But yeah, the band experience was, I'll say it was interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I remember you guys played at Washington, D.C.,
Yeah.
and you were gonna play outside, but then we got
Yep.
stuck in like that monument
Yeah,
with
we were gonna play at the Jefferson Memorial, but it rained. We were stuck in the basement of the Jefferson Memorial for like
yeah.
3 hours. With all of our equipment, with the amps, with the pianos, it's heavy stuff, and it's a long walk back, and we had to walk all of it back to the van, which is a long walk. and it was just a nightmare. And we had to perform in the hotel. The sound wasn't as great, but it was still when you say I've performed in, I guess it was Virginia, but Washington D.C., that carries weight to it. That's like, oof,
Yeah.
it's interesting. It wasn't as great as I was hoping it was gonna be, but at least I didn't voice crack or anything during
Yeah.
that.
It was really good. I remember that. And so like what's your favorite thing about making music in general?
Hmm. The end product. Usually, some songs are not great and I don't like them, but the songs I do like is the end product. Because I use this program called Note Flight where I put all the music into it. I can listen to it back without me having to play anything and just press play and it plays the notes, all the parts and everything. And it's just nice to hear what you've done if it's good. If it's not good, just like, oh, this sucks. But if it's good, it's just like, oh, this feels really nice. When I listened to A Journey Ventured, which was the first song I wrote, I still like it to this day. It's a Mr. Dupre actually helped me write it, but I love listening to that One Voice to Make a Difference. I love listening to that one. I wrote this new song, which is it sounds French because it's got the, like do 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 do. I can't really explain it that well, but I like listening to that. I recorded myself playing that. Unfortunately, drums does not record well, so it doesn't really work well when you're trying to listen to it back.
Yeah.
I have issues with that. But listening to it like that is really good. So yeah.
Yeah, and like how has your musical experience been different at Norwell? Because I remember that you were really involved with the
Yeah.
youth. Yeah, so how's that kind of changed?
I don't do any assemblies anymore. We haven't had assemblies in forever. Actually, we had one like last year once. But I do a jazz. I'm now going to jazz ensemble, but I was in jazz workshop doing piano. But I'm switching to drums and jazz ensemble. But that's all in the music right there. It's just the jazz stuff. I haven't. We're getting a new principal, so I'm going to work on building a relationship with the staff, like I did at DS, and maybe performing assemblies or something like that. I'm not really sure yet, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's not as big of an operation as it was at DS, where like the entire sound crew and the music department was behind us, trying to help us do this thing. I don't have anything behind me now. It's interesting, but it's like starting over, so I have to try and redo everything.
Yeah.
Um, I might do the assemblies, I might not. I like the intimacy of just the jazz and the jazz ensemble and everything. It just feels like, this is good. I don't need anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what have been kind of like the major differences from the towns, like kind of when you were living at DS and now that you moved, what's that been like?
Yeah, well, I've lived in 4 towns. I started in Hanson, which is like right next door here to here, actually. It goes like Norwell, Hanover, Hanson. I lived in Hanson first when I was born. Then I moved to Westford, I think it was starting in first grade, up until 5th grade. Then I moved to Dover Sherborne, 6th grade through 8th grade, and now I'm here. And I don't really remember anything from Hanson. I remember one person, Lauren Mead. That's the only person I remember. Actually, and my teacher, Mrs. Kakmar. I like Mrs. Kakmar a lot. Those are the only things I remember from Hanson, in our house. From Westford, I had my best friend TJ. We had him on the show. We talked about plays and things. The school building was amazing. It was really nice and gorgeous. And I remember a few people's names, but I don't remember all of them. Then there's DS. And DS was interesting because it wasn't as inclusive as I thought it was going to be. Now, I'm not saying that everyone at DS is mean. That's not what I'm saying. A lot of people at DS were really, really nice. It's just some people were very. DS is so privileged that they judge you off of what you own rather than what you are. So, because I like basically they liked you if you had AirPods. Basically, that's how they judged your character. It just wasn't great, and I lost my voice one time. They called me Elmo for like the entire year, which was really irritating.
Yeah.
um, but there are a lot of like really nice people at DS, such as yourself, Grace Maroney, Owen Komisky, and there's a whole list of others that would take me forever to name. I know we're running out of time. Um, and when I moved to Norwell, immediately everyone was welcoming because the town isn't as, I mean, it's privileged, but it's not as privileged as Dover Sherborne. So on my first day, like 15 people recognized that I was new to the school, sat next to me in the auditorium after picture day, sat next to me at lunch, introduced me to everyone. I was held up by all the students. The staff was super nice. Everyone was just super inclusive. There's one person I don't like that much. I'm not going to name his name, but that's the only person I don't like at that entire school. Everyone in that school is so nice, and it's just everyone has their quirks and interesting things about them, and it's just such a nice environment. And DS was that way for the most part, but some people were a little, you don't have AirPods, I don't like you.
Yeah, there's definitely kind of that like there's definitely a lot of DS is a interesting place.
Yes.
It's there's a lot of things that, I feel like could be different and need to be different,
Yep.
but so hopefully it just, because we want it to be a really, well, at
Right.
least I want it to be a really inclusive place. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you kind of went through that. Like,
Oh, it was fine. It was fine. Most people were super nice to me. It's just like the three people that were really irritating.
yeah,
I
yeah,
still remember them. It was very, very irritating. But the good thing about living in that town is I could have people from Dover Sherborne, such as yourself, come on to the show now.
yeah.
And I
And
realized that we've just run out of time too.
yeah, so thank you so much for letting me interview you today. This was just like so much fun.
Yeah, it was. I've never done this before. This was super interesting. And for those who don't know, the guests don't know the questions ahead of time. So Riley did not know what questions I was going to ask her, and I did not know what questions she was going to ask me. So it's really terrifying to not know what you're going to be asked. But this was really fun, and I thank you for doing this. It was very enjoyable for me. Hopefully, it was for you.
Yeah, it definitely was. Thank you for letting me do this. This was
Yeah,
awesome.
no problem. Um, and stick around till after the shout outs because she's Riley's gonna stay here for a little bit longer while I do my outro here. So that was my interview with Riley, and you saw my Riley's interview with me. I hope you liked that interview. We have a couple of shout outs today. Last week I was so excited about my interviews that I forgot to say happy birthday to Sterling Williams, who we had on the show. I'm really sorry, Sterling, for forgetting that, but happy birthday. My other shout out is to Grace Maroney, for she's been on the Daybreak board of ideas for she was the first one to do it, and she's been super helpful with a lot of programs that Daybreak has been doing. And now to my last shout out, which is to you, Riley. I told you I had a surprise for you. It's not. I'm probably working it up way more than I need to, but my shout out is to you because you have been doing an amazing job. You've listened to all of the shows, you've been watching all of them, you've been responding, or you've been talking to me about them, you've been video chats and everything, just how to make Daybreak better, what things you like about it, what to add to it, new games and things like that. And you've been really involved. And we didn't know each other back at DS, and you still were like, I'm going to help this person out, which was very nice of you, and you're very, very kind to everyone that has been doing this, and I'm very grateful for that. So,
Thank you. It's been
in
awesome.
response to that, I don't pay you anything, and I'm not going to pay you anything because I don't have any money to pay you. But you currently are on the Daybreak Board of Ideas, and for the people who don't know what that is, it's basically a group of people who help me decide what would be a good addition or what to remove from the show. If there's a new game, I say, what do you think of this new game? And they basically evaluate it right there and then we can make new things. So I'm going to make you the chairman of that. I don't really have anything to give you, so I can only give you positions. Make you the chairman of that board. So it's a promotion, really, because you've been super helpful with that. And you're going to have one more thing added to your job description thing. You're going to help me add things to my monologue, like what I did here with the Jumanji thing and Abby, just basically adding current things that have happened recently to my monologue to give people notice of what's just happened. So this is what I can give to you. I can't really give you anything physical or like money, or I can't give you like a prize or anything, but I can give you position. And I just want to, it's just to show my gratitude for you helping out with all of everything that you've been doing. It's been really helpful. I really thank you for just jumping in. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, this has definitely been like my pleasure. It's been so much fun. And it's been great to kind of, like during the summer, I'm usually so lazy and I don't do anything, but it's been awesome to kind of like get to like talk to people and use my brain and kind of like actually like do something productive and really, really fun. So thank you.
Well, thank you. You've made Daybreak a much better program than it was when I first started it. So thank you very much.
Thank you for letting me.
All right. Now she is going to have to go now, but I just want to thank her just so much for coming on. Doing the interview. It was a great interview. We should definitely talk more about this in the future. But unfortunately, I do have to close out the show. So thank you so much for coming on, Riley.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
Bye. All right, so that was today's Daybreak episode. This was episode 2 of season 4. And I have some happy, sad news. Now, that was happy news before, but I have some new happy, sad news. This will be the last season of Daybreak until September. I will not be doing season 5 until September. So this will be 4 episodes, and then it will stop until when school starts back up again, because I need to advertise my show in school, and it's easier for me to do that now. And during that time, I will be doing I have a whole list, Daybreak plans. I have a whole list of things I'll be doing. I'm working on a new intro for you guys that I'm writing myself, so that's going along pretty well so far. But I'm doing a bunch of new things, so this will be the last season of Daybreak as it is right now. I'm not going to get rid of this. I love this, and this is going to stay, but most of it's going to be changing. Set design will be changing a little bit, so just look out for that. So this will be the last season. So episode 3 and episode 4, then a long break until a Sunday in September. But I want to thank you all so much for watching and being super supportive of this. Grace has been super supportive. Riley has been super supportive. Those are the only 2 members on the Board of Ideas. If you want to become part of the Board of Ideas, please DM me. There is a thing you have to do. You just have to watch a couple episodes. But I want to thank everyone so much for watching. My family has been super supportive. My friends have been super supportive. Everyone has been super supportive. So, yeah. And guys, I want to thank you all so much for showing up at 10 o'clock in the morning to watch this. And I hope to see you guys next time at Daybreak. Bye, everybody.